Mm-mm-mm-mm. Yeah, we testing the stream right now. See what it's talking about.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Stop. Mm-mm. You are determined. Jesus Christ. Yes, Sonny. Yes. I can't control my title from the stream, but see. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. I should be live though. Let me see. Okay. Real quick, I'm gonna do something. Mhm. You sound crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, we watching. I don't know what we watching.
I love this setup. Glock 28, fully stippled, trigger shark trigger, ports, optic, Glock 19X Cerakote. Here we go. Flatter than flat. Just nasty. I never thought this setup would exist in the wild. I never thought this would even be a thing, but it
It's no
is,
stream, just
and
trying
it's
to make sure
nasty.
the audio
I
good.
love this setup. Glock 28, fully stippled, trigger shark trigger, ports, optic, Glock 19X Cerakote. Here we go. Flatter than flat. Just nasty. I never thought this setup would exist in the wild. I never thought this would even be a thing, but it is, and it's nasty. I love this setup. Glock 28, fully stippled, trigger shark trigger, ports, optic, Glock 19X Cerakote. Here we go. Flatter than flat. Just nasty. I never thought this setup would exist in the wild. I never thought this would even be a thing, but it is, and it's nasty. I love this setup. Glock 28, fully stippled, trigger shark trigger, ports, optic, Glock
I should be
19X
able to see
Cerakote.
my
Here
lap
we go.
on here, bro.
Flatter than flat. Just nasty. I never thought this setup would exist in the wild. I never thought this would even be a thing, but it is, and it's nasty. I love this setup. Glock 28, fully stippled, trigger shark trigger,
Am I
ports,
live right now?
optic, Glock 19X Cerakote. Here we go.
Yeah.
Flatter than flat.
These Virginia laws is crazy right now.
Just nasty. I never thought this setup would
Yeah.
exist in the wild. I never thought this would even be a thing, but it is, and
I'm
it's
doing this
nasty.
off the
I
laptop.
love this setup. Glock 28, fully stippled,
It's a
trigger
little
shark
odd
trigger,
setup because I'm not
ports,
where I normally
optic,
would be.
Glock 19X Cerakote. Here we go.
What's up with Virginia, man? What y'all carrying? What you carrying, bro? What is everybody carrying? We gonna watch this right now.
News, let's get into it. Virginia Democrats passed SB 749, and according to this lawsuit, it creates one of the broadest so-called assault firearms bans in the nation. The law criminalizes the importation, sale, manufacture, purchase, transfer, and even public carry of massive categories of semi-automatic firearms and magazines beginning July 1st, 2026. Now listen carefully to how broad this thing is. According to the lawsuit, Virginia's definition of assault firearm includes semi-automatic rifles with detachable magazines and common features like adjustable stocks, pistol grips, threaded barrels, or forward grips. Semi-automatic pistols with threaded barrels, braces, barrel shrouds, or magazines outside of the grip. Semi-automatic shotguns with detachable magazines or pistol grips, shotguns with revolving cylinders, any firearm capable of accepting belt-fed ammunition, and even firearms modified to become one of these categories. Folks, that's enormous. That means that your ordinary AR-15, banned. Your AR pistol, potentially banned. Your threaded barrel handgun, potentially banned. Your standard 17-round Glock magazine for your Glock 17, banned under their large capacity feeding device definition. And yes, Virginia defines large capacity as anything over 15 rounds. I wonder if they're going to take it away from the law enforcement agencies too. Oh yeah, second class right thing. So what the anti-gunners call common sense regulation here is actually criminalizing some of the most commonly owned firearms and magazines in the entire country, the United States of America. And the lawsuit absolutely hammers that point. The plaintiffs cite Supreme Court precedent saying that AR-15s are the most popular rifle in the country. And that's not just GOA saying it, that's language pulled directly from a unanimous Supreme Court opinion that was Mexico versus Smith & Wesson, that case. And that lawsuit also points out that magazines over 15 rounds number in the hundreds of millions nationwide. And this is where Bruin and Heller become devastating for Virginia. Because under Heller, firearms that are in common use for lawful purposes are protected arms. And Bruin made clear that the government has to prove a historical tradition supporting modern gun restrictions. And that lawsuit flat out says Virginia cannot do that. Now, here's where this gets even more interesting. The plaintiffs are strategically avoiding federal Second Amendment claims entirely. It's a different path than the lawsuit I told you about this morning. Instead, they're arguing that Virginia's own constitution protects these firearms. And that matters because state constitutional protections can sometimes provide even stronger protections than the federal courts. And the lawsuit points out that Virginia amended its constitution in 1971, specifically to clarify that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the quote. The filing argues Virginians intended that language to be at least as protective as the Second Amendment itself.
It's good, chat.
Now let's talk about one of the most dangerous parts of the law, the public carry ban. This law doesn't just ban future purchases, it bans carrying these firearms in public. And according to the complaint, Virginians could be criminally charged for carrying these firearms on public streets, sidewalks, parks, rights of way, and basically any place open to the public. And that includes private businesses open to the public. So fear.
And I think that in itself is crazy, bro. Do a little, let me see. Trying to fix my display real quick. I have to do it later. Well, I can leave it for now. I'm on a different setup, but
Theoretically, you could carry legally for years and then suddenly become a criminal because Virginia politicians changed the definition.
it's crazy. What about
The
people
lawsuit
with
points
the
out there's no
concealed
meaningful
permits
exemption
that don't
even
matter
for
no more?
concealed handgun permit holders.
See,
And that's a direct collision course with Bruin. Bruin specifically held there is no historical tradition supporting bans on carrying commonly used
and it's an
firearms for
open carry shit.
self-defense.
So how you gonna
Now,
ban
the
them?
lawsuit also attacks this law for vagueness.
This is crazy.
And honestly, some of the definitions are ridiculous. For example, the law bans grips that protrude conspicuously. What the hell
What do you
is a
mean?
conspicuously protruding grip?
A
Who
conspicuous
decides
grip.
that? A state trooper? A prosecutor? A jury? The lawsuit argues ordinary Virginians cannot
What's
reasonably
the word,
determine what's
man?
legal and what isn't.
It's too
And then
crazy,
there's the
bro.
infamous barrel shroud language that we've been seeing since the Clinton assault
And my
weapon
boy yesterday was
ban.
talking about he want to get
The
a
plaintiffs
Drake.
actually point
Drake.
out
I'm like, bro, you
that
ain't gonna get
depending
those.
on
You ain't
interpretation,
getting those.
even ordinary handgun frame
Not for
designs
regular
could
price. You're gonna be
potentially
paying
qualify as
above
prohibited
12.
shrouds. Now, this is exactly what happens when lawmakers who don't understand firearms try to sound smart and try to regulate them using cosmetic
It's
features
supposed to be
and
an open carry.
scary terminology. And remember, this is the same playbook that we have seen for decades, and it gets rather old, but here it
Your
is
concealed
again,
carry don't
this
matter.
time in Virginia again. They don't ban firearms based on function. They target the appearance. Threaded barrels, pistol grips, adjustable stocks, braces,
My
features that
dog.
have little or nothing to do with criminal misuse. Meanwhile, criminals ignore all of it, and they're not held responsible at all. Now, the complaint also walks through specific firearms and magazines affected. And this part is important because it establishes standing. The lawsuit explains how John Crump specifically wants to acquire firearms like a Daniel Defense DDM4 V7 AR-15. I got one right there for you, bud. A Kel-Tec PR-57, Glock mags, AR mags, Benelli shotguns, AR pistols with braces, even belt-fed systems for testing and review purposes. Now, the filing repeatedly emphasizes these are ordinary firearms in common lawful use. And folks, this is key. The lawsuit argues the right to keep and bear arms necessarily includes the right to acquire them. And this is an argument we're seeing gain more and more traction nationwide after Bruin. Because a right you cannot exercise is not really a right. If the government can stop the sale, transfer, manufacture, or acquisition of protected arms, then they can effectively destroy the right itself without technically banning
Reading chat on
possession
my
of
phone,
anything.
so
And that's why these
I didn't even
feature
see your
sales
message at
bans are
first.
so dangerous. Now, and they were like the cool chick at a party for about 15 years because every state was trying to do it, but Bruin caught their hand in a cookie jar. Now, Virginia used to be one of the strongest pro-gun states
It's
in the
crazy.
country,
Now I gotta
but
figure out.
after demographic
I mean,
shifts
not really figure
and
out.
Democrat control expanded,
I'm pretty
And
sure I could
I'll be
still
honest
carry
with you,
my
some people
Glock
couldn't bring
21.
themselves to vote for a woman of color who was already proven herself to be a staunch Second Amendment supporter and was already
This is
number
13
2 in charge
rounds.
in
I'm
Virginia.
probably
But
gonna put a
because people
+2
couldn't
on it.
do that, for whatever reason, here we are. Richmond politicians started pushing California-style gun control immediately. And now they've gone all in. This lawsuit specifically says the state is banning the most popular firearms and magazines in the nation. That's not hyperbole. AR platform rifles are owned by tens and tens of millions of Americans. Standard capacity magazines over 15 rounds are factory standard for countless firearms. It's mainstream ownership. It's common use. And under Heller, common use matters enormously. In fact, Heller made it crystal clear that entire classes of commonly owned firearms cannot be simply banned. Now, could this case eventually reach the Supreme Court? It's possible. Anything is possible here when you're dealing with gun grabbers. In fact, it's absolutely possible this will go to the Supreme Court, especially if Virginia
Got a
courts
little delay
reject the
on
Bruin
Bruin,
framework
too.
or uphold these bans despite the overwhelming common use evidence. Now, there's another angle here as well. This case could influence ongoing assault weapon litigation nationwide.
They need to expedite these
Because
cases,
courts
boy.
around the country are currently split on AR bans and magazine bans, because some lower courts have upheld them while others have struck them down. And eventually the Supreme Court is going to have to get off their little booties and actually do some work and take care of this and settle it once and for all. Again, I've said this in the previous video, but if you didn't see it, I think the Constitution and the Second Amendment, as was written originally, basically says that this ban is unconstitutional anyway. So these are not banned illegal items. They're all lawful anyway and always have been. The question becomes, can the government ban the most commonly owned rifle platform in America while pretending it's somehow unusual or outside the constitutional protections? And that argument becomes harder and harder to sustain each and every single year for them. And this lawsuit knows it. That's why the filing repeatedly emphasizes popularity, common ownership,
I wonder how
lawful
long it's
use,
gonna take for
and
them to
Supreme Court language recognizing these firearms as protected
overrule
arms.
the
Now, before I wrap this up for y'all, understand
gun
something
law.
very important. This is not just about Virginia, because anti-gun politicians everywhere watch each other. There's everybody in the viewing audience right now that lives in one of these states. They're saying, hey, Jared, what about my state? I feel for you. We're fighting for all of you. It just takes time. I hate that it takes this much time because the Supreme Court doesn't have a set and their backbone is questionable. Not all of the justices, but, you know, a good 7 of them. But if Virginia gets away with this, other blue states will push even harder.
They
And if
can't get
Virginia
away with
loses
it, bro.
badly, it strengthens challenges everywhere else. That's why
It's
this
only
case matters
affecting
nationally.
people
And folks,
who
I'll
follow
tell you
the
this
law.
right now. The anti-gunners have a massive problem after the Bruin case. For years, they relied on balancing tests, interest
Criminals
balancing,
gonna do what
public
they do
safety
regardless.
arguments, emotional appeals, and activist judges who were willing to rubber stamp all of the restrictions. But Bruin changed the game. Now they have to prove historical analogs. And there is no historical tradition in America of banning the most common rifles and magazines owned by the people. That's the battlefield now. And this
We'll
Virginia
try to do one
lawsuit
more
goes
little video
directly
or
for the
whatever.
throat on that
We
argument.
could test straight.
We're going to watch this case very closely here on this channel because this could become one of the defining Second Amendment fights for the next several years. Let me know what you think down below. Do you believe Virginia's new ban survives Bruin, or do you think this eventually gets crushed in court? I just might take some of my items and drive 12 minutes north of my house and show them the border with Tennessee and Virginia, just to see how they like it. If you enjoyed this video and you want real Second Amendment reporting without any corporate media spin, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification. I appreciate all of you. And as always, thank you to the groups that are fighting the fight. In this case, GOA, GOF, VCDL, VCDF, and John Crump for being the plaintiffs.
Yeah, I keep up, man. Everything in Virginia.
Escalation. The first domino has fallen. All right, folks, this is a massive one out of Virginia, and this could very well become one of the next major battlegrounds in the war over the Second Amendment. I'm going to say it is already the next major battleground. A lot of news coming out today. Check the channel often. I'll probably put out 4 or 5 videos today. come to the channel directly, youtube.com/@gunsgadgets, because YouTube will play games. The NRA, Firearms Policy Coalition, and the Second Amendment Foundation have officially filed a federal lawsuit late last night challenging Virginia's brand new, freshly signed by Governor Spanberger, assault weapons ban and magazine ban. And the complaint that they filed is not just aggressive, it's specifically designed to tee this issue up for the United States Supreme Court. And I'll add, Harmeet Dillon made a post as well within seconds of the governor signing this law. She said, I'll see you in court too. So the DOJ will be suing as well. And I know there are other lawsuits that I can't mention until they drop. So stay tuned to the channel if you're interested in Virginia, big time. Now, this lawsuit openly says that current Fourth Circuit precedent is wrong and needs to be overturned. And honestly, this filing, when I read it, it reads like a direct challenge to the entire anti-2A framework that many states like California, Maryland, New York, and now Virginia have been trying to build. So today I'll break down what Virginia actually banned, because some folks need to understand that, why this lawsuit matters nationally, how the plaintiffs are using Bruin and Heller, why they believe AR-15s and standard capacity magazines are unquestionably protected arms, and why this case may eventually force the Supreme Court to answer the question once and for all. Can the government ban America's most popular rifles? I'll also add the Supreme Court right now is currently still contemplating whether they will take up the Viramontes case, which is an AWB case out of Massachusetts. So let's get into this one because this is big. What's going on, everybody? My name is Jared. Welcome back. And if you're new here, this is Guns and Gadgets, your premier source for Second Amendment news. If you're new to the channel, this is where I cover everything happening around the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, firearms law, the ATF, the DOJ, the courts, and the constant battle over our right to keep and bear arms. So if you believe that rights are not granted by government, that they are protected by government, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and then join this growing freedom family, because we're stronger with you part of the team. Also want to say thank you for helping me pass the 275 million view plateau. I never ever thought that was ever a possibility. Thank you. It's been very humbling along the way. Appreciate your support. Now, this lawsuit is called McDonald v. Katz, and it was filed in the Eastern District of Virginia last night. The plaintiffs include 2 Virginia residents, along with the NRA, Firearms Policy Coalition, and the Second Amendment Foundation. And what they're challenging is Virginia's brand new enacted ban on so-called assault firearms and magazines holding more than 15 rounds. Now, notice something very important right away. The complaint repeatedly rejects the term assault weapon. The lawsuit calls them what they actually are: common semi-automatic firearms. That distinction absolutely matters because language matters, especially in court. Anti-gun politicians intentionally use emotionally loaded terminology because they know if they call these things, these firearms, what they really are, common semi-automatic rifles owned by millions and millions of Americans, their argument collapses immediately. And the complaint absolutely hammers that point. The lawsuit says Virginia has criminalized the importation, manufacture, sale, purchase, and transfer of many common semi-automatic firearms and standard capacity magazines. And we already know from DOJ's issues with other areas in the country that there are tens of millions of semi-automatic AR-15 platform-style rifles and hundreds of millions of standard capacity magazines. Now, according to the complaint, this law will take effect July 1st, 2026, and violations can carry up to 12 months in jail and fines up to $2,500. But there's another huge issue buried here. The lawsuit points out that a conviction under this law also triggers a 3-year prohibition on possessing firearms altogether. So understand what Virginia is doing here. They are attempting to turn ordinary, peaceable citizens into prohibited persons over the purchase or transfer of constitutionally protected firearms. That is a massive escalation. Frustrating one, too. So let's take a quick break here and thank our sponsor, Brooklyn Bedding. Are you looking for the perfect night's sleep at a great price? Brooklyn Bedding has been assembling top-tier mattresses since 1995, started by a guy with a dream and a whole lot of hustle in Arizona. Today, every mattress is designed and assembled in their Arizona factory and shipped free right to your door within the United States. When you buy from Brooklyn Bedding, you're getting premium quality without the crazy markup, just factory direct comfort that delivers your best sleep ever. I started looking for a mattress that was actually comfortable, stayed cool, and didn't cost a fortune. And that's where Brooklyn Bedding comes in. I grabbed a king-size Sedona Elite last May, and what a difference it's made. It is extremely comfortable. It helps me sleep better, and it's so much cooler.